What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kieran and I like helping people using a spiritual perspective. So today, guys, I wanted to talk to you about control and how come when it fails so miserably, we end up hating ourselves and eating a bunch of Oreo cookies till 2 a.m. in the morning watching cat videos. So that might be a personal experience, but in any case, we all have that experience of trying to control something and then it failing quite miserably, blowing up in front of our faces for us to watch and sit back, almost as if it were a movie. But it isn't. It's our life, and we hate it. But it happens a lot, and it happens to me. It happens to everybody. We all try to control certain things. But then how come when we try to control, which we believe would lead towards some beneficial result, how come it fails? How come often when we try to control things, it fails in front of us and we don't know why? We don't know what the hell we're doing wrong. And a lot of spiritual people, of course, have this idea that control is what is harming the nature of the manifestation that they're trying to bring in, and yet still trying to control not controlling is a form of control. Right? It's all a very big paradox, and almost always we're being left confused, right? All our energy is spent on this trying to control everything. We're not trying to control everything, which is again a form of control, and so it's very tiring and very exhausting. So let's just take a little bit of some time here, me, you, and the ghosts in this house, to talk to you about why exactly things fail when you try to control them. So the first reason that things try to fail when you try to control them is because your mind doesn't know any better. Okay, so your mind tries to control things. You can think about the mind as the ego. It doesn't really matter. They're kind of interchangeable, but for now, let's just talk about it all as the mind for this video. And the mind likes to control things. Obviously, it's the nature of this video. We like to have logical problems solved. We like to see things and come up with a solution. That's what our mind does. That's what it's here for. Okay, our mind, the human brain here, is here to solve problems, see patterns, notice things, make observations. And we have this little voice in our head that thinks thoughts like, I should go for a walk today, or I don't know if I should eat that apple pie, things of that nature. Okay, so while we have all these thoughts inside of our head, we apply them towards certain directions in our life. And when we have problems or obstacles or things that we would like to solve, our mind immediately says, ooh, I have the answer. Let me do this, and this. And then I bet that this answer, this solution will present itself at the end of this. And yet still, it ends up falling apart halfway through. And this really tends to happen a lot to people who are going through some type of spiritual journey. You can call that the spiritually awakened person. You can call that the aware person. Maybe even just the spiritual person, however you want to look at it. But the idea is for a lot of people with high levels of awareness, and regular folks too, control often does not work, right? So the biggest reason because of this is, again, our mind doesn't know any better. The mind can't problem solve itself, okay? Because the mind doesn't see itself as the problem, okay? That's where the mind sort of stops with its awareness. Like, if we're as smart and intelligent as you can be, and your mind can be so very analytical, it can't use that same pattern of behavior to solve itself. It doesn't make any sense. It's like trying to put a square block into like a circle hole. It just doesn't work, okay? And so that's essentially what it's like for the mind to try and solve itself. It doesn't happen, okay? So the mind doesn't know any better, and what I mean by that also is that in addition to trying to fit some sort of a square into a circle hole, the mind only has its experience based upon everything that it's experienced up until the moment that you are right here with me watching this video, right? It's experienced all of the life so far, but it hasn't experienced everything else in the future, right? So it only has what it's working with now. So sometimes, oftentimes actually, when you're trying to solve solutions and problems that are not readily available and that you only are trying to control, it's a good sign that the problem and solution really going hand in hand is beyond your current expertise, is beyond your mind's current expertise, meaning that it probably requires something different in order to solve it. You need to do something different. You need to think a different way. You need to let go. You maybe need to change something about yourself. You maybe need to change the way that your perspective is and how you're viewing the world and people. There's a myriad of different ways that this could manifest. But the idea is your mind isn't able to do that because it doesn't know any better. It doesn't know how to solve things in the future. right? So when you try to control everything, things don't work out to the best of your benefit because you're essentially trying to force things to happen when they're not supposed to happen like that. Because the mind thinks that, oh, well, this worked 2 years ago, so let me try this because it's a similar situation. Maybe you're trying to find work, right? A lot of people are trying to find work, and in a spiritual perspective, being a spiritual person of some kind of nature, it's very hard trying to find work because we have this huge awareness of what we're capable of, what we should be doing, what we would maybe like to be doing, and we're aware of our energies and how they interact with people in certain situations, certain jobs. And so what happens is that we feel like we deserve better. We feel like we should be putting ourselves in a path that could lead us towards something quite good. Sometimes it often looks like following our passions and our dreams, doing things a little bit out of the ordinary than what we would have considered. And yet at the same time, we need money. You need money to survive in this world. You need a job. You need a place to live. You need to be able to take care of your basic needs, right? And in order to do that, obviously, it would help if you had some sort of income, some sort of a job, right? But 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, my types of jobs were working at retail, working at Pizza Hut, whatever, doing jobs that made me want to go home and slit my wrists open and just watch it all bleed out. But I don't want those jobs anymore. And I think anybody here wouldn't really want those jobs. If you're talking to me, if you're listening to me here, you probably have some kind of idea in your life about what you want or what you'd like to be doing and what you certainly wouldn't like to be doing, right? So jobs can become a difficult thing for the spiritually awake person because we're trying to find our path, right? So that being said, trying to control them, which is something that I've often tried to do with career, is, oh, well, these jobs worked in the past, so let me apply to these types of jobs. But I don't get them. Even the most minimal basic kinds of jobs, even if I need money desperately, I never get those jobs. Never, not once, ever. They won't even call me in for an interview, and when I do, it doesn't work out. What can I do, right? Well, my mind is trying to use solutions that worked in the past to apply them now for the future, even though I know with my full awareness that that isn't what I want. And so that's the thing. The mind has these ideas, but they contradict what you know inside of your heart and soul, and so they don't add up, right? Again, just like trying to fit a square through a circle hole, right? If I say hole any more times, I might start getting very lewd ideas. But in any case, we don't want to be fitting those things, trying to make things fit that don't work, right? So the control mechanism is just something that really needs to be let go. It's the first thing, surrender, which is really what it's called, that needs to be addressed, is this idea of control and how willing or unwilling we are to essentially let things happen in the natural order. And that's scary because the mind wants to solve something. If you used to have types of jobs and you're trying to do things with a certain perspective, it's going to keep coming up with ways to do it. You're going to keep ruminating and brooding about things to do, and yet you'll still end up with the same result. And you'll try again and again and again, and you'll still end up failing. And oftentimes when we succeed in things that we're trying to control, they end up with pretty painful lessons. And if not painful, then at least very, very sporadic, okay? I mean, I've tried to control things in my life to end up in very specific places, which I thought is what I wanted, and it turned out to be terrible. And the only reason that I think now, with the sort of retrospect, is that the only reason it worked is because it's what I thought I wanted, right? So the reason that control number one doesn't work is because if it's really not what you know is good for you, and yet you're just trying to make something happen, then oftentimes it's going to fail pretty quickly, okay? And so these are the things to be avoided on your own spiritual journey, because at the end of the day, you're trying to accomplish something that you haven't accomplished yet, even though you know you can. So relying on your mind as the experiencer to give you those answers isn't going to help you at this time, right? Once you know things, once you have a certain cycle that you're in, you can start using your mind to problem solve again. And it isn't that you should just shut off your mind and never use it. Obviously, there's an intellect there and you have it for a reason. Use it while you can, but trying to control everything really forms type of tension within you, a type of stress. I know when I'm really, really trying to control things, I feel very, very stressed naturally, but I develop like almost like tics, like very, like my eyes, I start blinking a lot. Like I just like a stress sort of related thing when I'm trying to control stuff. And so I know like when that's happening, it's like, okay, I need to slow down, right? And when we're trying to control, we're often trying to speed things up, and they manifest as physical symptoms. Again, You might have things going on with your body that you notice, stress, tightening in your chest, shallow breathing. You might notice the pace of your life is picking up too quickly. You might feel overtired, overexerted. These are all signs that you're stressing yourself over, controlling too much. Okay, so the reason our mind does this is because it makes us feel safe. It makes us feel in control. So when we have control, we feel safe. But safety and control are all illusions. Even though safety is an important mechanism to have for the human being, it's certainly something that you're supposed to make your infant and your child feel. And often many of us on this journey never had that as a child. So it feels like trying to get ourselves to a place of safety and control are things that are almost foreign to us, and we have to work very hard just to get those basic needs met. Okay, at least I'm speaking for myself, maybe some of you out there, but in any case, it's very, very hard to get those feelings naturally for some of us. Okay, so our controlling mind almost works harder than maybe the average person. Okay, and so that has a detrimental effect to you. But the idea is because we want to feel safe, we want to feel in control, even though often in life we have very little control. I mean, we really can take control of our actions and what we do with our time, but most of the stuff that's going on in the future, there's nothing we can do about. In the past, naturally, what can you do about things that have happened? I would love to go back at 21 years old and maybe not do that extra line of cocaine, but I did, and that's how it is, right? No use in feeling guilty about it. And if I would try to control those elements of the past, it leads to things like depression, because those sort of feelings like nostalgia, you're really trying to control things that happened in the past, trying to make yourself feel a certain way now. That's control, but you can't do anything about it, just like you can't do anything about the future. So the mechanism of it all is, of course, to make us feel safe, again, even though that those feelings aren't promised, and we can only make ourselves feel safe now in the present moment, which is often where our attention is not. Our attention is either here or there, but not here. Right? It's very unnatural thing to try to get ourselves into. It feels unnatural anyway, but in truth, it's the most natural place you could be, because that's where you feel the most safe. It's where you feel the most peaceful. So before I end this video, let's just go over some basic methods that may or may not work for you in order to help yourself let go of control. So just to preface this before I even go any further, obviously the most rewarding thing and the most true thing is going to be discovering your own process, okay? Because the thing about control is, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you can realize that you're not supposed to be controlling, and then you try to control not controlling. So if you realize that you're pushing your pace too much, that you're doing all this shit, it's like, oh, I'm controlling too much, let me do the opposite, let me sit and do nothing. Well, then you're trying to control, you're not controlling, right? So you end up just controlling. It's the same thing. So you don't want to fall into that pattern. So everybody's little life looks different, okay? Their perspective manifests differently. Surrender is a very personal process. It's something that can happen at the drop of a hat watching a nice sunrise. It can happen while watching beautiful animals, I don't know, watching things happen in nature. It can also happen while you're drugged out, sitting on the floor, and completely alone and isolated and feeling like you've hit rock bottom. Okay, there's different scenarios in which we truly feel surrender. They can be very, very painful, or they can be very, very amazing, beautiful. Okay, and sometimes a little bit of both. So surrender is a personal process. So these methods may or may not work for you. At the end of the day, the true surrender is going to happen when you are ready to let go. When you realize fully with all your body and being that this isn't working, and you just say, you know what, I'm done, I let go. And the reason we don't let go, the reason we have a hard time letting go is, again, goes back to that mind and the controls, because we're used to something, and so we feel if we let go of it, we won't ever pick up that same feeling again. We feel in control, it feels safe, but it's not working, our life's a mess, what do I do, what do I do? You don't know the problems, you can't solve anything, but you know that you should let go, and you're afraid that this feeling that you're getting something out of control, you are getting something out of that. If you let go of that, you won't be able to pick that back up. That feeling won't happen again. But it does. It honestly does. You drop it, and almost immediately there's something else gets picked back up. Almost immediately. And that's really life. Life is a series of just clenching until it doesn't work anymore, and you drop it and let it go, and then okay, you pick up something new, hold on to it loose, tight, and then you got to drop it again, and so on and so on. And some people really hold on so much that it's actually their whole life, and then when they die, that's their letting go. But for those that are aware, those that are spiritually awakened, those that are on this journey, it's a series of this. You kind of pick it up as you go along. So your moment of surrender is personal to you. But in any case, let's get into these sort of techniques you can do. Naturally, meditation is always the first one you can do to help yourself out. And really, meditation is sort of broad term, but essentially what you want to do is to spend some time with yourself, be still, be clear, okay? Pay attention to yourself, observe yourself. Try to get yourself in the natural flow of things, and you can do that by, secondly, slowing down. Okay, meditation is definitely a form of slowing down, but just take time to slow down, breathe. Wasn't that beautiful? Just breathe. Just take your time throughout your day. Give yourself moments of rest, recuperate, show yourself some care, right? Things like that. Anything to get you out of go energy will help you out immensely in the process of letting go or surrendering or getting rid of that control energy that you got going on. Just do things to relax your body as much as you can, because that's going to help you, because letting go is relaxation. Okay? Just like when you're having sex and you're at that climax moment, that's letting go. And other things that aren't sex related. What else do we got out there? When you're eating bacon in the morning, it doesn't matter who's president. You're just eating bacon. It feels good. You're letting go. You're relaxed. Okay? When you're taking a hot bath, salts and all those stuff, whatever you do for yourself. Maybe you're reading a book in the bath with a glass of white wine, and you relax. You're feeling good. When you meditate, that's, again, relaxation, deep breathing, relaxation. Do things to relax your physical body, which will in turn relax your emotions and your mind. So do anything that you can relax, and maybe even imitate the feeling of this, holding on as tightly as you can and then letting go. And that might look like getting a stress ball or something like that, holding on tight as you can and then imitating the feeling of letting go. And it'll give you some idea of what you're supposed to feel like. And you'll know when you've let go, because you'll feel it. You'll feel relaxed, okay? So you can give yourself little mini letting go things with your body. Again, any of those techniques that I mentioned, and then they will sort of build up a momentum towards your actual full release, okay? All right, guys, I hope this video was helpful. I hope you guys have a really great Thursday, good weekend. Hope to be doing another video soon. I think I'm starting to get back in the rhythm of these things. And for now, guys, I wish you a happy day. See you guys. Bye-bye.